Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. The Liberal Party of Canada has just announced a further ban of more than 300 models of firearms. So you guys have been bombarding me with questions and I'm going to do my best to answer them. The first question is, why are they doing this? And realistically, it's because the Liberal Party has been polling extremely poorly. They've been getting hammered on issues of the economy, of crime, housing, immigration, and scandal after scandal after scandal after scandal. Right now, according to 338 Canada, they're on track to win 51 seats across Canada compared to the Conservative Party's 229 seats. That is a commanding lead. So, the Liberal Party announced a GST tax holiday, which didn't help. Their poll numbers actually went down after that because people saw it as a fairly obvious attempt at buying votes. So, that not having worked, they went back to the old standby.
Today, the government is adding a further 324 unique makes and models of assault-style firearms to the list of prohibited firearms in Canada. This prohibition takes effect immediately. This means these firearms can no longer be legally used, sold, or imported in Canada, and can only be transferred or transported under extremely limited circumstances.
When the Liberal Party is out of ideas, they always turn to banning more guns. So that also answers the next most popular question people have been having, which is, when does this come in effect? The answer is immediately. If you were at the gun range and you were shooting and not watching the news, you could have inadvertently committed a crime, or at least the actus reus of a crime. You'd have a defense on terms of mens rea, but that's a whole big complicated thing. I don't think they're going to prosecute anybody in that situation, but they should really give some warning about this kind of thing. Anyway, after that, people have said, well, what all is included? And there's a big list. I'm going to put that list in the description below so you can check it out, but we can browse it together. So some of the entries here, they say newly prohibited makes and models, and that is kind of a government lie on some of these, because some of these are, for instance, the Browning M3 aircraft, which was already banned, and I don't think anyone had any of those. There's a lot of sort of them banning stuff that is a little silly, but we do see some pistol caliber carbines. That is a popular area for banning in this. Why is that? Well, because if there were a lot of shooting sports that used handguns, and what those shooting sports were doing was the people who couldn't get a handgun now were allowed to shoot those with pistol caliber carbines. And now that's shut down. So this is really aimed at shutting down these shooting sports. There's a bunch of scary looking 22 long rifle chambered firearms. And if you aren't a gun person, 22 long rifle is suitable for rabbits and grouse and really anything smaller than that. They're one of the smallest commonly available calibers you'll find. So really, if you're not a rabbit, you shouldn't be that worried about the proliferation of 22 long rifle firearms. There are a number of sort of semi-automatic firearms here, and a lot of these are popular or have been popular in sport. When they banned certain other firearms, they said, listen, you can still do all of the sports you wanted to do. You just need to buy another gun for them. You just need to buy a replacement, something that's legal. And so lots of people did. And then they've turned around and banned those too. So the whole promise of don't worry, we're not trying to shut down sports. We're just going to, we're just looking to ban a few specific things. And, you'll still be able to participate in all the sports that you were doing. Well, that also turns out to be a little bit of a large lie. So, yeah, some of these things, the CZ Bren 2, again, popular for 3-gun, And some of these things are really kind of silly things. There's a lot of guns that are just very basic things that are sort of dressed up to look like other guns. So like the MP40 carbine has very little to do with the original MP40. It's something that looks like an MP40, but it's a semi-auto sort of plinking gun. So we've got that. If you're wondering if your gun is on the list, I encourage you, as I mentioned, to go check out the list. There's a few really sort of surprising entries on here as well, things that just kind of make you shake your head. One that I'm just going to point out on the list of many, many things here is this one right here. The Walther WA2000. Okay, so here's a picture of this. And if you're wondering why this one is unusual, it's because this is actually a very rare gun. There was not a whole lot of them made, and if you have one, they sell for like 100,000 Canadian. They're not a cheap gun when these so they're like an incredibly rare collector's piece, and thus they're not being used in crime. There are no mass shootings with $100,000 guns. It just doesn't. No. And yeah, so why are they banning all this stuff? I don't know, other than, failing electoral things and the fact that this is kind of the wish list by some of the anti-gun lobby groups in Canada, some of whom were invited to speak at these events. Okay, so other questions. People have asked, what happens if I ignore this ban and shoot them anyway? Well, if you are caught doing so, they will charge you with possession of a prohibited firearm and possession of prohibited firearm with ammunition. And sort of the starting point sentencing on that is measured in years, not days, not weeks, not months, years. So I very much don't recommend that. It's a very bad idea. People have also said, well, okay, I'm going to hold on to these until after the amnesty. And right now, that seems like an excellent plan. But we have also seen that they have released the information about the sort of first phases of the buyback aimed at retailers. And interestingly, retailers have been told that notwithstanding that the amnesty lasts until October 2025, that they must have completed their sort of buyback entries by April. And so if they take longer than that, then they'll still end up having to dispose of things, but they won't be able to get any money for them. I expect we'll see something very similar aimed at the sort of ordinary person, where they'll say, listen, here's a cutoff if you want to get paid for this, which is going to make a lot of people have to make some very difficult decisions, because they're going to have to decide, do I want to get paid for this, or do I want to, or do I want to hold out? And hopefully the Conservatives reverse all of this. They may also, for instance, announce a truncation of the amnesty. That would not surprise me if we see that. So nothing has been announced, but that's kind of my bet based on how they're acting. Now, they also announced that they have a grand plan for what they're going to do with these guns, and it's a little bit bizarre. Here they are. Here they're going to explain it to.
So I'm pleased today joining in this announcement to announce also that the Department of National Defense will begin working with the Canadian companies that have weapons that Ukraine needs, and which are already eligible for the Assault Firearm Compensation Program, in order to get these weapons out of Canada and into the hands of the Ukrainians.
So you heard that correctly. They're going to take guns from Canadians and Canadian retailers and send them to Ukraine, which seems like a great way to generate animosity towards the Ukrainian cause among the Canadian public. I don't see why they're doing this, because, frankly, there's much better ways to support the Ukrainian cause, and it just makes no sense. The newly banned .22 caliber rifles are probably not going to be all that much use on the front line. But, I mean, they're not all .22 caliber rifles. They did ban the Browning M3, which I noted was already banned, so there's not going to be any of those to give up. But there are some, 223 and 556 chambered firearms that, are semi-automatic that maybe somebody could make use of, like this Lockhart Raven that was just newly added to the ban list. So, best of luck, Ukrainian soldier, I guess. There's a whole lot of problems with this plan, including issues of international arms transfer agreements and so forth, that really belong in another video. But I think this whole plan is really poorly thought out. So let's talk a little bit about their big announcement about the buyback starting up, which is beginning with retailers. I'm going to link in the description below the firearm compensation amounts, because they've now said that they've got a schedule for what they're going to pay out. And a lot of it seems really weirdly off. For example, here we go. For a grenade launcher, they will give you $235. That's for a grenade launcher. That seems a little weird to me, but it's also odd on the high end, because when we look at the high end, we can see some things that, So the Purdy double-barreled rifle, they will pay $117,450 for. That's a lot of money, and I feel like the average Canadian is going to be going, wait, we're paying a lot of money in order to seize what exactly? What is this rifle that's too dangerous to be on our streets and is clearly a weapon of war with no responsible use and can't be used for hunting or anything like that? Well, here is an image from the Purdy webpage. This is showing one of their double-barreled rifles. And you can see that these are very bespoke hunting rifles that are incredibly expensive. I don't see that there's any benefit in taking this weapon of war, that's just ridiculous here, off the streets. The whole thing just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's really our government here. So, what are the other effects of this announcement? Well, it's really lost them a lot of goodwill in the firearm community. There are a whole bunch of people who are saying, oh, well, they're just banning all these like scary guns because they were kind of the Elmer Fudd style, gun owner who like, I have my double-barreled shotgun and I have my bolt-action rifle and I don't need anything else. And they're going, wait a minute, they're not going to stop, are they? They're just going to keep banning more and more stuff. And so even those people are going, this is not so good. All the gun owners who they said, listen, you can just buy another gun, you can keep doing what you want to do and, so forth. You guys are not the problem. You'll just have to, well, they're also seeing that there is a real lie to this, and the desire to sort of go along with this and the feeling that this is in people's best interest has entirely evaporated. This is really, Now, I'm sure it'll play well with at least some of the urban crowd, but I don't think they were super big on this anyway. But it will give the Liberal Party something to run on in the next election that isn't the failing economy or the fact that you can't afford a house. They're going to be saying, listen, if you don't vote for us, look at all the scary guns. And they'll be showing you pictures of like this thing. Doesn't this look like a big scary space gun? This is a gun they just banned. It's also a 22. It shoots wee little bullets. It's not designed for people. It's for squirrels. That's what this shoots. So yeah, this is incredibly frustrating for me and other gun owners. We all kind of hope the general public sees through it, but we'll see. This is kind of a last-ditch, desperate effort by the Liberal Party, and yeah. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you found this interesting or educational. Leave any further questions you've got, because I'm sure this won't be the last video I do on this, in the comments below. I also want to thank my Patreon supporters at the $50 level: Bottle Shock and Oz, Canada's National Firearms Association, the Canadian Coalition for Firearms Rights, Canadian Shooting Sports Association, PJs Forever, CMP, Cielo, and Purple Dragonair. And I also want to thank at the $20 level, Mark, Lindsay Metcalf, Larry Kalniak, Kyle Fox, Drunkle of the Baileys, Cameron Johnson, Andrew Elsich, Marvin CZ, and Dorky Dane. Thank you as well to my $10 supporters who will be in the crawl immediately following. Thank you for watching. Hope this has armed you with knowledge. See you next time.